Sudanese novel History and Development طيب صالح 1929-2009 The Doum Tree of wad Hamid Part 1. Dear audience, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this new documentary series. Our journey on the history and development of the Sudanese novel continues today. In our presence, the internationally acclaimed Sudanese novelist Tayeb Salih. In this episode, we turn to the first part of our exploration through his renowned short story, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid. Together, we will examine and trace the Sufi elements woven into the narrative. Stay with us. So, as you listen, the audience, this is our first encounter with our celebrated novelist Tayeb Salih, and together in our presence his noted masterpiece short story The Doum Tree of wad Hamid. So our encounter, our meeting with Tayeb Salih renews today, and from this part, which is part 1, we would like to continue experience with him his Sufi elements that he has expressed in this masterpiece, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid. Before to delve into the topic of the episode, I would like to present a further insight into Tayeb Salih biography, an area to which we have already devoted 2 episodes. The focus here is on one of Tayeb Salih defining attributes, his humility. This quality was evident to all who met him, spoke with him, interviewed him, or listened to him. So as you listen, dear audience, before going further in our presentation, in our first encounter with the Doum Tree of wad Hamid, I would like in this part of the episode to introduce further insight into Tayeb Salih biography. And as you listen, just here I would like to share one of his defining attribute, and that is his humility. And the source here is his intimate close friend, the writer Talha Jibril. So in the first part of his interview with Ghassan Ali Usman on the well-known program Al-Warraq, journalist, media figure and writer Talha Jibril reflects on the internationally acclaimed Sudanese novelist Tayeb Salih. He emphasizes that Salih's humility was never affected or artificial, but rather the humility of a sincere believer and an authentic human being. During the interview, when Ghassan asked whether this humility was genuine, Talha responded that he believed Tayyib Salih never truly saw himself as the famous writer, even after all his remarkable achievements. Talha then recounts a telling anecdote. Salih once told him that he had attended a discussion at either Cambridge or Oxford of his literary text. As Talha recalls, where participants spoke about magical realism, describing Salih as one of its representatives and even favorably comparing him to several Latin American writers. Salih's response, Talha notes, was spontaneous and disarmingly simple. My friends, are you speaking about me or about another Tayyib? What magical realism? I merely wrote a few words. If people like them, that is their concern. As for me, I have never felt that I am a writer. Talha Jibril concludes that this profound humility was one of the key reasons behind Tayyib Salih's global stature. When asked about the source of such humility, Talha attributed it to Salih's inward Sufi inclination, observing that Sufis are typically characterized by detachment from material concerns and worldly ambitions. He adds a symbolic remark. Rarely, he says, had he encountered someone whose name so perfectly matched his character. Tayyib Salih was indeed Tayyib, good, and Salih, righteous. It is worth noting that Talha Jibril authors the only full-length biographical work on Tayyib Salih, which he began writing in 1982 and which was eventually published in 1997 under the title على الدرب مع الطيب صالح، ملامح من سيرة ذاتية. As in the audience, I would like in this part of the episode to share the literary elements of this short story. So the genre is short story. Originally, the language in which the short story has been written is Arabic language and has been translated by the British outstanding translator Dennis Jonathan Davis. About the setting, in fact, the story is set in wad Hamid, a small Sudanese village along the Nile. The environment is rural, traditional, and deeply rooted in communal memory. About the time of this literary text in which it has been written during 1960s and published in 1985. In terms of setting further, I would like to add that the Doum Tree itself functions as a symbolic center, a physical landmark intertwined with spirituality, history, and identity. Moreover, about the setting, by the way, reflects the traditional Sudanese village life, a strong attachment to land and heritage, tension between tradition and modernity. Characters. The narrator of the story is an old man from wad Hamid who is speaking to a stranger who happens to be visiting this village And the old man talks to him about this village. So I would like to comment on the characters, by the way. The major character here is the grandfather, an old man from wad Hamid, narrating the story while in his presence a young boy. And by the way, the two represent two different generations. And in fact, throughout the short story, we come across many other characters represented in some villagers, represented furthermore on the coming of some government officials, government employees during the time of the British rule to Sudan and after independence. About the theme or the central ideas in which Tayeb Salih tries to share his audience. By the way, Tayeb Salih focuses on the rural areas, and more specifically, he has taken from wad Hamid, that village from which he constructed his physical setting, made up his literary text. So he took from wad Hamid his powerful religious symbol, represent the people unity and resistance to colonizers, as well as the national rulers who came prior or post country independence. So Tayeb Salih in this short story, by the way, he debated and tackled the area of tradition versus modernity. For the story illustrates the clash between the old ways and modernization. The village resists foreign intervention and the progressive ideas brought by figures like the district commissioner. And moreover, the short story thematically tries to focus on the cultural identity and beliefs. The narrative highlights the importance of faith and Senate veneration, as the tree is closely linked to the tomb of the holy man wad Hamid. So Tayeb Salih in this short story tries to debate, to discuss the issue of traditionalism represented on the local beliefs, more specifically on the sacred elements that constitute part of their daily life, such as the shrine of the Senate wad Hamid himself. This is from a side. From another side, Tayeb Salih furthermore discussed the issue of modernity, that is the calls that have been carried out as a result of two attempts of establishing agricultural, at the same time a harbor for steamer and ships in the very area or in the very same area of the shrine of wad Hamid. So the conflict went there between the culture, the history, the traditional history of the locals in the area, in opposition to modernity that the new government of Sudan after independence and before independence, an attempt that had been carried out by the British ruler to modernize the area. So Tayeb Salih discussed these two issues. The issue of traditionalism in terms of modernity, and at the same time perceiving of cultural identity and beliefs in terms furthermore of modernity. So the audience throughout our encounters with the Tayeb Salih, starting from today and on the next coming episode, we will try to discuss this issue, the thematic meaning behind this masterpiece short story, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid. To the audience, I would like to remind you that we are in our first encounter with the Tayeb Salih, noted, celebrated short story, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid. So let us begin by commenting on the name wad Hamid. That is, before we go further in our discussion, just here I would like to make the comment on the name itself, wad Hamid. So in the Sudanese dialect, wad means son of, while Hamid denotes one who frequently praises God. Through this naming, the internationally renowned writer Tayeb Salih hints at a deeper symbolic meaning, highlighting the role of Sufism in Sudan, particularly its contribution to the emergence of villages that gradually developed into towns. It is worth noting that wad Hamid, the ascetic saint, is credited with the founding of the village. So what I would like to tell here in this part of our episode is that Tayeb Salih celebrated, by the way, the roles that have been carried out by Sufis throughout history in Sudan since the establishment of French Sultanate in 1504. So to the credit of Sufis, by the way, the establishment of many Sudanese villages, parts and some of these villages turn into cities. And I would like to draw your attention, the audience, that I have presented two episodes targeting the social contributions of Sufis, with a special reference to their role that they have been played in the establishment and the foundation of Sudanese villages and towns. And here I would like to referring you to these two episodes, which are part of my channel, the Sudanese Sufism History and Development. On the other hand, the audience, I would like to emphasize that Tayeb Salih carefully employs names as symbolic devices to evoke positive qualities and thematic meanings. This is evidence in characters, more specifically, the major characters that carries, by the way, the names of parts of his or some of his novels, such as The Wedding of Zain. So if you would like to have the name Az-Zain itself, as we have commented previously, Az-Zain denotes to the idea of decoration. Moreover, Al-Hanin has been used semantically to stand for longing. And here we have wad Hamid, another told word that is son, and Hamid, the one who frequently praises God. Moreover, we find Tayeb Salih use such a major name like Daw al-Bayt, and Daw in Sudanese culture always denoting, referring to light. And then we have Mariud, the most lovable individual. And then we have Mustafa Saeed. Furthermore, we have Ni'ma, the blessing. So the audience, as you notice, Tayeb Salih used such names of optimism that express optimism and goodness at the very same time. And just this is the major characters. You come across many names that Tayeb Salih has used throughout his literary texts to indicate goodness. Short story, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid. Tayeb Salih portrays wad Hamid as the barren land, a depiction that mirrors the condition of many Sudanese villages that emerge around Sufi centers. And the story of many Sudanese villages that have been established by Sufis pointed out to the fact that many of these villages were barren lands. In their early stages, such places were often arid and desolate. Yet, once the founding Sufi Sheikh settled there, the landscape, both physical and spiritual, underwent transformation. The masjid was established, the taqiyya was founded, the mosque was built, and the Quranic Khalwa began its activity. Consequently, the fields turned green, Islamic values became firmly rooted, and faith was strengthened in the hearts. Within the same context, names carrying symbolic resonance, such as wad Husuna and wad Turabi, as an example, appear, reflecting layered cultural and social meanings that embodied in the narrative. In the short story, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid, in which an elderly narrator relates to a young visitor that the village traces its origins to the arrival of wad Hamid, a Senate who was a slave to a wicked master. While wad Hamid is praying for deliverance, a divine voice instructs him to spread his prayer rug on the water and ride it until it stops at a given shore. The rug brings him to the Doum Tree. He settles there, and through his presence, the village mysteriously becomes populated. The religious and spiritual environment in which Tayeb Salih grew up also finds its reflection in wad Hamid circle, a mixture of Orthodox Islam, mystical Sufi beliefs, and animism, commonly referred to as popular Islam, which can be felt in his writings from the very beginning. As a result of the above, the general tensions that beset the village are between the old and new, science and superstition, tradition and modernity. This becomes apparent in one of Salih's pivotal short stories, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid, which introduces not only the setting of the whole circle, but also its central themes. the audience, I would like to reminding you that I'm presenting the Doum Tree of wad Hamid in our first encounter with Tayeb Salih, focusing on his masterpiece short story under discussion now. So just here I would like to share directly the words quoted from the original text of the short story. Who is wad Hamid? I'm quoting the dialogue inside the story itself. My father, reporting what my grandfather had told him, said, wad Hamid in times gone by used to be the slave of a wicked man. He was one of God's holy saints, but kept his face to himself, not daring to pray openly, lest his wicked master should kill him. When he could no longer bear his life with his infidel, or this infidel who called upon God to deliver him, and a voice told him to spread his prayer mat on the water, and that when it stopped by the shore he should descend. The prayer mat put him down at the place where the Doum Tree is now, and which used to be wasteland, and there he stayed alone, praying all the whole day. Still the speech to the grandfather. At nightfall a man came to him with dishes of food, so he ate and continued his worship till dawn. All this happened before the village was built up. It is as though this village, with its inhabitants, its water wells and buildings, had become split off from the earth. The narrator's account, embodied in the grandfather's speech about wad Hamid to the younger generation, reflects the enduring significance of oral transmission. It illustrates how knowledge, memory, and communal identity are perceived through the spoken word, passing from one generation to the next. This process is particularly vital in conveying matters tied to lineage, the history of the village, and the remembrance of influential figures within the community. Tayeb Salih's short story, The Doum Tree of wad Hamid, is a profound exploration of the conflict between traditional rural life and creeping modernization in Sudan. Through a first-person narrative, it highlights the Doum Tree as the symbol of faith, identity, and communal strength, resisting government efforts to modernize the village. Tracing the symbolism of the tree is not just nature, but a sacred, mystical entity representing the village roots, spiritual beliefs, and enduring strengths. It acts as a guardian, and every new generation finds it to be part of their lives, highlighting a sense of continuity. The story of Doum Tree of wad Hamid is not merely a tale, but a window through which we glimpse a universal human conflict, the tension between tradition and modernity, between spirituality and materiality, and between humanity and nature, in the search for the very meaning of identity. In the words of Tayeb Salih, concluding, Doum Tree of wad Hamid, place is not presented as a mere backdrop to events, but as a living presence and an active protagonist. The mosque, the river, the palm tree, the Doum Tree, all of these are not static elements, but vibrant entities that shape the people's consciousness and weave the fabric of their lives. The story Doum Tree of wad Hamid unfolds through an enduring duality, the old in confrontation with the new, and the contemporary engage in a restless dialogue with the traditional. Its lasting power lies in the way the Doum Tree transcends the boundaries of a Sudanese village to become a story about the things we cherish and lose, and about the meaning of homeland as it resides within each of us. It ultimately poses an open question: what is the sacred ground in our lives as we race relentlessly toward progress? So the audience, I would like to point out to the sources that already I have consulted, and here I would like to point out to the program Al-Warraq by Ghassan Al-Usman, a dialogue in its first part with Talha Jibril, and then we have here some notes on the mystical elements in Tayeb Salih, wad Hamid second published paper by the researcher Joseph Barabic, and then the impact on arts, Sufism impacts on arts by Jalil Abdullah Saleh, published by Al-Musawarat for publication 2024, Cairo. By this, the audience, I came to the end of the episode, till seeing you in our next second part with the Tayeb Salih, the Doum Tree of wad Hamid. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.